For many in California, the holiday season has arrived.
En la costa, que no van a hacerse más.
Setting the stage for destructive impacts that would follow.
What's happening when America, the symbol of strength, suddenly seems to tremble before an angry Mother Nature? Roaring waves, rains ripping through the sky, ground cracking open, streets turning into raging rivers, from the coasts to the deep forests, from rivers to the dark of night, 10 disasters hitting one after another like a symphony of destruction. This isn't just random chance. Like the warnings from old prophets, these calamities ring out like alarm bells from above. Time is running short. The familiar order is starting to crack. Do you feel that urgency drawing closer? If each scene is a chapter from Revelation, then the first one's already begun, and the answer is waiting right ahead. So don't miss a single bit of information, and come with me as we dig deeper into the real message hidden behind these natural disasters that seem to be hitting just the United States in recent months. Right now, we're going to start with 1. 3 waterspouts appear off the coast. The ocean was roaring. 3 huge waterspouts suddenly shot straight up into the sky off San Diego, tearing through the deep blue and turning a calm moment into a shocking sight that left us staring at our screens. In the viral video, you can see the sea change color, wind whipping across it, and the horizon broken up by those tall, twisting tubes, like the ocean had just sounded an alarm. Southern California was right in the middle of an atmospheric river then. According to Reuters, heavy rain and strong winds slammed the coast, damaging yachts and waterfront restaurants. The waterspouts showed up just about 5 miles offshore. That weather set the stage for the unbelievable scene. 3 waterspouts forming almost at the same time, twisting hard, their bodies thick with vapor, bases touching the sea, tops reaching the clouds. NBC News described the spouts as hundreds of feet high, knocking over yachts, sweeping away outdoor bars, leaving the water looking like a battlefield, wind howling, waves crashing, debris floating around. Things happened fast. Winds kept shifting. Rain poured down in sheets. The water column spun faster, then slower, then flared up again. An unsteady rhythm that made predicting them almost impossible. Reports pointed out, waterspouts aren't rare, but 3 appearing together, so close to shore, in such extreme weather, that's unusual. Weather experts explained it could tie to the temperature difference between the air and the water, along with low-level spinning winds in odd storm conditions. BBC noted opinions that climate change is making extreme weather events more frequent and intense, so things like this happen more easily. But when we look closer at the video, those spouts rising up and collapsing like the ocean's breathing, a deeper meaning quietly comes through. Revelation 8-7 says, "The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth, not to judge." But those words suggest a warning trumpet, a moment when nature speaks up against people's stubbornness. Psalm 107-25-26 adds, "For he spoke and stirred up a tempest that lifted high the waves. They mounted up to the heavens and went down to the depths," an image that matches those water columns, rising high and crashing down in an eerie way. Science talks about the how, the Bible hints at the why. Between those two views, what's undeniable is the uneasy feeling that lingers after the video ends. The ocean got angry, and a warning has sounded. If out at sea it's already stirring like a trumpet blast, then when that fury hits the land, how will our paths hold up? 2. Roads suddenly turn into rushing waterfalls. No sirens, no time to get ready. In just a few short hours, the roads that connect folks in Wrightwood, Southern California, turned into something tearing the whole area apart. The pavement cracked open, water roared through, and this little mountain town fell into panic as the strongest thing around gave way first. According to CalMatters, California's mountain areas just went through a strong atmospheric river, with more than 11 inches of rain falling in a short time. The ground couldn't soak it up fast enough. The soil got soaked. The land changed almost right away. Roads that handled thousands of cars every day started cracking, then falling apart, like the support underneath had been pulled away. The rushing water hit speeds close to 20 miles an hour, strong enough to rip through 6-inch thick asphalt. In many spots, the road collapsed, forming waterfalls nearly 10 feet high, sweeping away big rocks, mud, and even vehicles that couldn't get out in time. Just think about it. The path you take to get home turns into a roaring waterfall. Joel 2:30 says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." When the earth and water stop working in the usual way, when things happen that go beyond normal predictions, isn't that what those wonders mean? Not to show off power, but to wake us up? Genesis 7:11 tells us, "The fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened." That picture comes back in a scary way when you see roads breaking open like wide chasms, with water pouring down uncontrolled from above. The Great Flood from the Bible doesn't feel like an old story anymore. It seems like a pattern repeating in modern times. FEMA experts say the cause is weak geology mixed with unusual rain from climate change. That makes clear scientific sense. But the question comes up, why are these extreme events happening so often, especially here in America? Is a purely technical view missing a deeper spiritual meaning? The Bible doesn't deny natural laws, but it says many times that nature is a tool God uses to shake people awake. When even paved roads can't hold up, is He asking us about the foundation we're trusting in? And if asphalt roads have turned into waterfalls, how much longer can the paths we think are the strongest really last? 3. Those stone roads split into streams. The air in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina feels heavy and gloomy, like the ground itself is carrying a long weariness. In videos taken during non-stop rain, huge granite rocks that always seemed unbreakable start to crack and split right in front of you, letting muddy floodwaters rush straight through and turn solid rock roads into deep stream channels. There's no loud thunder, just the steady sound of water hitting stone, enough to make anyone watching feel a tightness in their chest, like we're standing right on the edge of something giving way. This disaster comes from repeated flash floods hitting the southeast U.S. after a storm. As FloodList reported, river levels rose more than 10 feet in a short time, completely changing land that's been steady for decades. In the videos, the muddy water surges down with pressure around 15 tons per square foot, strong enough to carve granite into channels nearly 5 feet wide, sweeping away trees, mud, and even the old trails that were lifelines for local folks. Seeing those scenes, it's easy to feel the exhaustion on the faces of people standing helplessly by the water. And maybe you recognize that familiar feeling too, when nature doesn't give us any chance to fight back. In the middle of all that hopelessness, many folks turn to the Bible to make sense of what's happening. Luke 21:25 warns, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Pictures of massive rocks splitting apart and land shaking in the floods remind plenty of people of that prophecy, like the chaos isn't just in the floodwaters, but in the hearts of those watching. Psalm 46:3 says, "Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea." And now the mountains really seem to be shifting right on camera. But not everyone sees it the same way. Many living in the flood areas think it's just the natural result of erosion and long, heavy rains, something science has warned about. On the other hand, those farther from the floods, especially people of faith, say these back-to-back extreme events can't be explained only by geology or weather. Caught between those two views, maybe you're wondering yourself, where's the line between a natural disaster and something with deeper meaning? No matter how you look at it, one thing's hard to deny. Those stone roads that stood for lasting strength are now split into non-stop flowing streams. And if even solid rock can't hold up anymore, what's waiting for the peaceful green areas up ahead? 4. Flood turns park into a raging river. Early one morning in Charleston, South Carolina, there was a sight that stopped anyone cold. A peaceful park swallowed up in just a few hours, trees vanishing under muddy water, familiar paths turning into a fierce river more than 15 feet deep. In the videos spreading fast online, the first feeling isn't curiosity. It's a chill down your spine shock. Because right then, you realize there's no safe line anymore between a spot to relax and one that could take your life. In the southeast coastal areas of the U.S., where the Edisto River rose to 14.5 feet, according to SCEMD, a huge mass of water burst over the banks, sweeping away ancient trees that had stood strong for decades. The water level shot up so quick in such a short time that the park's flat ground couldn't drain the flood anymore, turning the whole green space into a temporary riverbed, wild and out of control. Those dry numbers hit harder than any description when you see the real pictures. Next, the water rushed along at about 10 miles an hour, strong enough to rip up stone benches, signs, and even the solid brick paths. The roaring sound of water crashing into tree trunks never stopped, like some giant creature had woken up and was tearing through everything in its path. Watching that, a lot of folks couldn't help putting themselves in the shoes of the neighbors around the park, where just hours before it was a regular walking spot. With the flood so overwhelming, local authorities quickly sent out urgent warnings, telling people to evacuate low areas, banning anyone from going near the park or nearby roads. The alerts kept stressing the risk of water rising more, threatening lives if anyone stayed, showing this wasn't some short thing but an emergency needing action right away. While those everyday warnings went out, the Bible comes up for many as a deeper kind of alert. Revelation 16:3 says, "The second angel poured out his bowl on the sea, and it turned into blood like that of a dead person," a scary picture of water changing from life-giving to a sign of disaster. Amos 5:8 also mentions the one who turns the sea into dry land, reminding us the other way around, like a park becoming a river. That familiar order can flip any time. Of course, some say it's just the result of rising sea levels and extreme weather, like plenty of news reports explain. But for quite a few, the symbolism of a park standing for peace, turning into a raging river, is hard to ignore. Between those two views, the question isn't just about causes, but how people choose to hear the warnings. What's clear is this flood didn't just carry off trees and paths, it washed away the idea that we have total control. And when a park can turn into a raging river in the blink of an eye, what more intense things waiting quietly ahead will show us next. 5. Mysterious boiling water columns in the flooded areas. The floodwaters in Pennsylvania didn't rush in all at once with a big roar. They crept in slowly, covering the lower streets like a heavy blanket. In videos taken during the flood, things looked pretty normal at first. Muddy water lapping over car tires, steady rain coming down, folks standing under porches waiting for it to go away. But then, right in the middle of that seemingly lifeless flow, some strange movements started showing up. It gave anyone watching a chill down their spine, like we were seeing something that wasn't supposed to happen. From cracks in the road and deeper flooded spots, columns of water suddenly shot up, bubbling and swirling in a weird way. Videos shared by witnesses and picked up by Reuters showed some of these columns reaching nearly 8 feet high, spraying non-stop with a high-pitched whistling sound that's nothing like regular flood noise. What really gave people the creeps was the hot feeling they described when standing close, as if the water carried some odd energy inside it. Watching that scene, a lot of viewers felt the same uneasy thing, like staring at a door cracking open to some deeper level below. Earlier, the area had been hit by flash floods after about 4 inches of rain fell in a short time, according to FloodList. That stranded vehicles and overloaded the drainage systems. Normally, floodwater just flows along the land, but this time, these bubbling columns rising from below threw off all the usual expectations. The sight of water pushing upward and spraying in the middle of the flood made everything feel eerie, like the ground was pushing back against the pressure from above. In the middle of all that confusion, some folks brought up the Bible as a possible hint for what was going on. Exodus 7:20 says, Moses raised his staff and struck the water in the river, and the water turned to blood, picturing a scary change in water from life-giving to a sign of disaster. Revelation 8:8 also says, the second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, suggesting a mix of fire and water, things that seem opposites. When you put those Bible verses next to the images of bubbling hot columns in the flood, many watchers couldn't help thinking this might be some kind of symbolic reminder rather than just chance. Of course, opposing views came up quick. Some scientists, according to USGS, said the phenomenon could be from trapped gas underground, releasing when water pressure built up, creating fake boiling water columns. On the other hand, people of faith wondered why such a rare thing showed up right during back-to-back disasters, with images so close to ancient descriptions. Caught between those two explanations, every viewer has to decide for themselves. Is this just nature's physical reaction, or a sign with a deeper message? No matter how you explain it, those bubbling water columns in the flood left a lingering, uneasy feeling that's hard to shake. And if strange movements like that can appear right in the water, what might be waiting ahead when huge metal objects get swept into the flood? 6. Container truck helpless in the floodwaters. In Kansas, folks don't beat around the bush. There's a 40-foot container truck sitting dead still in the middle of the flood, the body submerged almost up to the roof, and the rain still pouring down without letting up. That picture shows up on the screen like a straight-up warning, because just one quick look tells you that if something that's a symbol of hauling power can be that helpless, then us regular people are even more vulnerable. The heavy storm with big rains turned a lot of roads into temporary rivers. According to FEMA reports, water levels in some parts of Kansas rose to about 12 feet, bringing traffic to a complete standstill. In the viral video going around, the container is sunk deep in murky water about 8 feet high, wheels gone from sight, engine silent, while the rain keeps adding nearly 2 inches to the water level every hour. The current presses in from all sides, not rushing like a waterfall, but steady enough to make any rescue attempts slow and risky. That helplessness isn't just in the metal. Later footage shows local folks trapped in flooded areas, moving on makeshift paths, piling their belongings high on pickup truck beds, faces worn out after hours of waiting. Urgent alerts from local authorities keep going out, telling people to stay away from deep flooded roads, warning about fast rising water and sudden power outages. Schools shut down, supply chains get disrupted, everyday life gets squeezed in this long feeling of being stuck. Amid those official warnings, the Bible comes up like a direct call-out on human overconfidence. Matthew 24-39 says, "And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away." A reminder that disasters don't wait for anyone to get ready. Psalm 69-15 cries out, "Let not the floodwaters engulf me, or the depths swallow me up," echoing how those folks surrounded by water feel with no clear way out. When you put these Bible verses next to the image of that motionless container, the contrast hits hard. All our technical strength and big industry can't keep us standing against rising waters. Some say the main cause is weak drainage systems and planning that hasn't kept up with climate change, like analyses from the NWS point out. That makes sense, but plenty of others see the symbolic side of the scene and ask, why exactly do these symbols of human capability get exposed as so powerless, right when disasters keep coming one after another? The clash between technical explanations and spiritual feelings makes the debate intense, not easy to bridge. What can't be denied is that the flood has shattered the illusion of control. When a huge container truck is just a lifeless obstacle in the swirling water, the warning message comes through loud and clear. Human pride is being put to the test. And if those big steel boxes can be overcome like that, then when the waters rush into the vast forests ahead, What else will get swept away next? 7. The forest suddenly turns into a swampy marsh. Some sorrows don't need tears. They spread quietly, soaking into the soil, the water, the fading green of life. In southwestern Colorado, a vast and sturdy forest suddenly became a gloomy swamp. Muddy floodwaters rushed in like nature's heavy sigh. Trees swayed and leaned, roots ripped up. The ground turned soft and mushy, like it couldn't hold itself up anymore. From the video footage, the water rose to about 10 feet. The current raced at nearly 15 miles an hour, sweeping away all the familiar paths. An area around 5 square miles got covered, water over halfway up the tree trunks, turning old trails into little rivers and silence into fear. It wasn't loud, but it felt heavy, like the earth was bowing to something it couldn't fight. Have you ever stood in a place that used to be full of green life, then seen it drowned in mud, and wondered what made everything change so fast? That question doesn't need an answer right away, but it hangs there in the mind of anyone watching, like a gentle but deep reminder. Isaiah 24:4 says, "The earth mourns and withers, the world languishes and withers. The highest people of the earth languish." When a forest turns to swamp, when the ground isn't dry enough to carry people's steps, it feels like that mourning rewritten in water and mud. It's not just a natural disaster, but a quiet indictment of the broken relationship between people and creation. Local authorities sent out urgent warnings, telling folks to stay away from the flooded areas, limit travel because forest roads were cut off, small bridges washed away. Everyday life became a real hassle. Clean water was scarce, getting food supplies was tough. Many families cut off in the middle of all that water. Rescue teams moved slowly through the strong currents, facing mud and fallen trees blocking the way. Every step a tense effort. Revelation 11:18 warns, "The time has come to destroy those who destroy the earth." Those Bible words ring out not like thunder, but like a steady knock on the conscience. When forests drown in water, when nature looks like sorrow, it might be a reminder that every action leaves a mark. This moment ends in heavy silence. The water keeps rising, the forest keeps sinking, and in that murky mud, abandoned cars lie scattered. When the floods recede, what story will they tell about us? About the choices that led to this day? 8. Scattered vehicle remains. A heavy silence falls over everything, like a thick blanket. No more engine noises, no more of that familiar rush of daily life, just a cold wind brushing past twisted metal frames. Standing there, in front of that scene, don't you feel like this quiet weighs more than any sound you've ever heard? In the areas where the water has pulled back in northwestern Oregon, cars and pickup trucks lie tilted and still, like a graveyard amid the wreckage. According to news reports, after the flooding from the atmospheric river, as the water receded, it didn't just leave behind mud, it uncovered traces of a life that used to be bustling. Roads that were once busy with traffic are now empty and cold, where metal piles up on top of each other, and you can't tell anymore where the lanes were or where people stopped. Over a stretch about 2 miles long, vehicles are scattered everywhere, some leaning way over to one side, others nose down in mud up to 3 feet deep. That mud covers the wheels and bodies completely, like it's trying to erase any sign of movement. The contrast hits you hard. Places that were once full of noise are now silent. What used to stand for motion and freedom now sits motionless, left to the mercy of time. Ezekiel 6:3 once warned, "I will lay the high places of Israel waste." Looking at those rows of scattered cars feels no different from standing in an abandoned city where man's works suddenly lose their meaning. It doesn't take total destruction. Just the absence of life is enough to turn a lively space into ruins. Some folks say this is just the result of traffic accidents during the flood, that cars got swept away and left behind, something you can explain with engineering and circumstances. Weather agencies and local authorities point to extreme weather, unusual rainfall, and low-lying land as the main causes. From a neutral view, those explanations make sense. Natural disasters always bring chaos that's hard to control, and people are usually just trying to cope. But when pictures of these vehicle wrecks keep showing up in different places, looking so similar, other questions come up. Matthew 24-28 says, "Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather." That warning isn't about individual cars, it's about signs, about places where life pulls away and leaves a cold void. A deadly silence can sometimes echo louder than any explanation. This moment ends on a heavy note. Maybe God is warning us through that very silence, through things we think are lifeless, but carry deep meaning. And as the camera slowly pulls up high, taking in the full view of where the flood has passed, what other horrors might those motionless vehicle remains reveal waiting ahead? 9. Close-up view of the floodwaters from above. Overwhelming. That's the first feeling when the view opens up from high above, showing the faint yellow lights of a restaurant out in the woods at Edisto Beach, South Carolina, getting swallowed by a thick mass of muddy water rushing past all boundaries. Looking down, the big stretch of forest isn't a forest anymore. It's just a flat, violently moving surface where every tree trunk is taken over by the flood, like they have no right to stand there. The flood shows total domination, relentless and frightening. The heavy water surges forward, carrying branches, trash, mud, crashing into trees with speed that makes everything shake in the dim light. According to SCEMD, steady rain over time pushed the river levels unusually high, turning an area nearly 3 miles wide into one huge flow. The force is strong enough to sweep away trucks weighing up to 10 tons, leaving you with the sense that nothing can hold up against this rage. Seeing that scene, who can still believe we're fully in control of nature? In the middle of it all, local authorities keep sending out urgent warnings, telling folks to stay away from flooded spots, not cross fast-moving water, and be ready to evacuate. Damage reports come in fast. Roads cut off, power out, property swept away in just hours. The speed and power of the flood leave no room for hesitation. It forces everything into a helpless state, where one wrong choice could cost a life. Genesis 7:19 once said, "The waters rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains were covered." The view from above right now makes that Bible verse feel not like an old story, but a living accusation. The water doesn't just rise, it rules, covers everything, and blurs the line between safety and destruction. As the flood swirls like a living thing, Revelation 12:15 echoes like a chilling explanation. The serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a river to sweep away the woman. From up high, that water looks just like a monster spewing out, dragging everything into an end-of-the-world vortex. Even if meteorologists explain it as the result of terrain and heavy rain, based on common scientific views, the visual match still makes it hard for many to ignore. This moment ends on a heavy note. This isn't just a weather event, but a final wake-up call, forcing us to face how fragile we really are. And if it's already this terrifying in daylight, what kind of face will that flood monster show when night falls? 10. The flood like a monster crawling through the night. Creepy. Scary. As soon as night fell over the deep woods in Washington state, that feeling spread like a chill running through your skin. The weak yellow flashlight beams weren't strong enough to light up much. They just let you catch glimpses of something moving, twisting, crawling in the dark, like the darkness itself had come alive and started swallowing up whatever was left. The flood wasn't rushing the way you'd expect. It slipped through the tall bushes nearly 50 feet high, wrapped around the tree trunks, rose almost to the tops, leaving behind a thick, heavy space. The black water reflected the lights in twisted streaks, making the whole scene feel like one long nightmare. The power of the flood wasn't loud or explosive. It was slow, steady, and frightening, like a patient monster moving forward, step by step, taking over the land of the living. Seeing that, who could feel safe standing in front of nature, moving like that, in the dark? According to NBC reports, The flooding in western Washington started after days of heavy rain in a row, with water building up at night, making it harder than ever to see and respond. Local authorities warned folks to stay away from the forests and low areas because in the darkness, the water could suddenly change direction, sweeping everything away without any warning. The danger right now isn't just from the force of the water, but from how invisible it is. Jeremiah 4:23 describes a scene that's chilling to the bone. I looked at the earth, and it was empty and wasted. I looked at the sky, and it had no light. Those images from the night flood make that Bible verse ring out like a first judgment, where the light is taken away, leaving people to face emptiness and helplessness on their own. Of course, there are neutral views that say the creepy feeling just comes from the rough terrain and the dark, according to NWS analyses, that in daylight, the water is just a normal river event. But when darkness covers everything, when familiar shapes get distorted, why does that sight stir up such a deep, symbolic fear? Revelation 9:2 goes on like a final pronouncement. It opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace. The flood at night, with its twisting and thick blackness, is no different from a bottomless pit opened up in the world, where darkness doesn't just cover the land, but tests people's faith too. This final moment closes with a heavy but hopeful truth. Through the darkness and fear, the Lord doesn't abandon us. He's guiding humanity to look straight at how fragile we are, so we can find the light again. And if this is just the beginning of that series of signs, what else is waiting ahead in the end times? 10 moments have come to an end, like 10 bells ringing one after another in the long night of humanity. From angry oceans with huge walls of water rising up out of nowhere, cars stuck helpless in floods, to forests turned into swamps, abandoned vehicles sitting quiet, and floodwaters creeping forward in the dark. All of it is no longer just separate events. When you put them side by side, they form one heavy, haunting picture. It's as if nature everywhere is speaking up at the same time, pointing in the same direction. The last days aren't some far-off idea anymore. They're getting very close. Looking back over the whole journey, you can see each moment has its own feel, but they all carry the same message. Water rushed through cities, deep woods, roads, and homes, wiping out the safe boundaries people once trusted. That power didn't care about rich or poor, city or wilderness, day or night. It came fast and overwhelming, then left behind a scary silence when it pulled back. In that silence, people have no choice but to face the bigger question: are we really ready? Matthew 24-44 sums it all up through every one of these signs. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. That Bible verse isn't meant to scare anyone. It's a call to stay awake. These 10 moments aren't just about natural disasters. They're a call to repent, turn back, and fix the path of our hearts before it's too late. When nature shakes, it's not only the earth and sky changing, it's a mirror showing how fragile pride is and how much we need faith. The mystery is still there. Disasters may not be over. More floods, storms, and upheavals could keep coming, maybe in different forms, stronger, harder to predict. But even in the middle of all that fear, there's still a way out for anyone willing to listen, to be humble, and to turn back to the Lord. It's not strength or technology that will save us. It's staying awake, repenting, and holding on to steady faith. If you're watching these moments, take a second to pause, pray, and ask yourself, what's in your heart? Stay awake, repent, and put your full trust in the Lord, because that's the only foundation that won't get washed away. Feel free to leave a prayer in the comments, or share your own thoughts and feelings. Every honest word can lift someone else up. If this touched you, please like, share, and subscribe so we can keep staying awake and walking together in faith. Thank you to everyone who listened all the way to the end. May the Lord bless and protect you and your family on every road ahead. Amen.
Storm continues to head east, and it's hammering Ontario and Quebec with snow.
We're going to be doing these updates every half hour.
What would happen if Christmas wasn't about lights and carols anymore, but howling winds like a judgment call? If right on the holiest night of the year, nature suddenly got mad, swallowing people up in ice, snow, and darkness, would you dare believe it's just chance? Or is it a warning that's been sent, cold and unrelenting? Early morning on the 24th of December 2025, while California was still wrapped in holiday cheer, a bomb cyclone from the Pacific suddenly slams into Sierra Nevada. Snow dumps 2-3 feet thick. Winds howl at 70 miles per hour, blanking everything out in a whiteout that drops visibility to zero. Just hours later, Donner Pass, that pass with its bloody history, turns into an icy hell. Over 10 cars pile up on I-80 near Truckee. Traffic backs up for miles and gets stuck. Christmas frozen amid wailing sirens and fear. The accidents don't stop. Up on Echo Summit, cars spin out in the snow. CHP keeps getting crash reports. Power cuts out. Thousands of homes plunge into darkness. Everything hits fast and furious, like time's getting squeezed in the storm. Can you feel the heartbeat of the chaos? Can you hear what the wind's whispering? The Bible once said, "But all these things are merely the beginning of birth pains, when the sun goes dark and order crumbles." Is this just El Niño, like science says? Or a scary repeat of what happened at Donner in 1846? If God's using storms to wake us up, the scarier question is this really just the start? And if so, where's the next nightmare waiting for us, right after this howling wind? Let's join me in digging deep to uncover the real truth about what these chains of events truly mean. Chaos at Donner Pass, the mark of a natural disaster. Something nobody could have imagined happened right on Christmas night. Donner Pass gave way. No warning sirens, no big explosion, just snow and ice pouring down like a cold wall, winds howling and ripping through the I-80 freeway, and cars slowly vanishing into that deadly white. While the rest of us were thinking about Christmas lights and family get-togethers up on the Sierra Nevada peaks, time seemed to freeze, traffic ground to a halt, and one of California's main arteries shut down in just a few short hours. That Christmas didn't start with carols, it started with pure chaos. It all kicked off fast, almost without a moment to catch your breath. At exactly 12:18 p.m. on December 24, 2025, Caltrans had to order all westbound traffic to turn around at the Truckee and Donner Lake interchange after a bunch of uncontrolled spinouts. You can picture hundreds of drivers stuck there, snow keeping on, falling thick, and the wind starting to roar like an open door. By late afternoon, things had turned into total mayhem. A pileup involving more than 10 vehicles happened on Donner Summit near Castle Peak in whiteout conditions where visibility dropped to zero. Winds hit 70 miles per hour, felt like temperatures down to minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and many drivers were trapped in their cars for hours, unable to move forward or back. ABC 10 reported injuries, while photos from the scene showed vehicles buried under more than 2 feet of snow, looking like they were frozen in time. The backups weren't just one way. According to SF Gate, both eastbound and westbound lanes of I-80 were held up at different times, turning Donner Pass into a complete bottleneck right during peak holiday travel. Over on Echo Summit, Highway 50 wasn't much better, with dozens of spinouts reported by CHP, leading to local power outages that affected thousands of homes in the mountains. Christmas, in an instant, turned into a string of emergency sirens, flashing lights, and feeling helpless against nature. Isaiah 13:13 puts it plain, before the full prophecy, "Therefore I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken out of its place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts." in the day of his fierce anger. Put those words next to what's happening at Donner Pass, and a lot of folks can't help but shiver at how the old description matches this icy reality swallowing the pass. Weather experts jumped in quick to explain the causes. Based on data from USA Today and weather agencies, this blizzard was triggered by a bomb cyclone forming over the Pacific, pulling in heavy moisture and shoving cold air across the Sierra Nevada. El Niño was mentioned as a factor boosting the snowfall and wind strength, while the steep, high terrain of Donner Pass amplified everything fast. From a scientific view, it's an extreme weather event, but one we can understand. Heavy snow, strong winds, and heavy holiday traffic made the perfect setup for chain reaction crashes. Experts point out these kinds of things are happening more often with global climate change, as weather systems get more unpredictable and intense. But as those explanations come out, plenty of people think back to the history of Donner Pass itself. In 1846, a group of pioneers got trapped there in a long blizzard, leading to the worst survival tragedy in American westward migration. Over a century later, same spot, same snow and ice, same isolation, and once again, people powerless against nature. For many, that repeat isn't just coincidence. Psalm 107-25 says it differently, but just as haunting. For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. This Bible verse isn't about one particular storm, but it raises a question that makes folks wonder. Are there times when nature isn't just reacting, but allowed to wake people up? Debate sprang up quick because of that. One side says everything at Donner Pass is purely physics and climate patterns, no need to attach any supernatural meaning. The other side looks at the history, the sacred Christmas timing, the level of destruction, and sees these as warning signs beyond a regular storm. Both views sit side by side, not easy to blend. Revelation 16:21 describes, before the full part, and great hailstones, about 100 pounds each, came down from heaven on people, though it's snow, not hail. The image of huge chunks of ice dumping down, burying vehicles and paralyzing a wide area, makes many think of that biblical judgment language. Here, the question isn't right or wrong, but how each person chooses to see what they're witnessing. So what was Donner Pass on Christmas night 2025? A traffic disaster from extreme weather? Or a symbolic sign, repeating right where a historic tragedy happened? When science and faith both look at the same event, each has its own reasons, and it's up to us to put ourselves in it and think it over. One thing's for sure, Donner Pass sent a signal nobody can ignore. A major route locked down, vehicles stuck motionless in the snow, and Christmas interrupted by chaos. But if this storm isn't alone, if it's just the start of a bigger chain of events moving from west to east, then the next question is really worrying. What's waiting ahead? Now that Donner Pass has spoken up first? Global storm chain, from west to east. If Donner Pass was the first big hit, the scary part is this: it wasn't alone. Just a few days after Christmas, extreme weather started spreading beyond California, like a door had been opened and there was no way to shut it. From west to east, from the Pacific coast to the Great Lakes area, one storm after another showed up with the same cold rhythm, all at once and hard to explain. On December 28, 2025, Michigan took the next big blow. Another bomb cyclone formed and let loose winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, with snow from 1 to 3 inches in the south, up to nearly a foot in the Upper Peninsula. According to MLive and NPR, more than 100,000 homes lost power in just a few hours. Many roads had zero visibility, and accidents piled up as folks couldn't adjust fast enough to the quick weather change. Almost at the same time, Buffalo, New York, got hit with a different, but just as bad scenario. On December 29, an ice storm rolled through upstate, knocking out power to more than 57,000 customers as ice built up thick on trees and power lines. National Grid said they had to restore service to over 70,800 out of 112,000, 300 affected cases, per the New York Times and WIVB. The whole city was covered in a clear layer of ice, pretty to look at, but deadly dangerous. Up north, southeast Canada couldn't escape this mess either. According to Severe Weather ETA, a blast of Arctic air dropped temperatures 30 to 40 degrees below average, setting up blizzard conditions from the Great Lakes all the way to Quebec. Strong winds, heavy snow, poor visibility, and tons of flight and cross-border travel disruptions showed this wasn't just a local thing anymore. Minnesota and Wisconsin added more cold pieces to the picture. The Twin Cities got 5 to 7 inches of snow on December 28, while western Wisconsin saw up to 12 inches, with winds at 35 to 40 miles per hour, according to Fox 9 and CBS. Roads got slippery, accidents shot up, schools closed, and everyday life got squeezed by the ice and snow. The storm chain didn't stop there. New England, from Vermont to Maine, dealt with freezing rain on December 29, building thick ice on roads and power lines. ABC News reported widespread traffic problems from Burlington, Vermont to Portland, Maine, as Maine roads became too dangerous to drive safely. Looking back at the whole thing, it's hard not to wonder, why did it all happen so close together, one after another, in a clear line from west to east? When you watch the weather map, those red and blue spots keep lighting up, like a non-stop chain of signals, making you realize you're looking at something bigger than just separate storms. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." For many folks, those words don't feel abstract anymore when you see millions without power, traffic at a standstill, and that helpless feeling spreading across the northern continents. From a Bible viewpoint, this storm chain isn't just weather, it's a warning language. Ezekiel 38-22 says, before the full quote, "I will punish it with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, fire, and burning sulfur on it." Here, hail, howling winds, and freezing ice show up like repeating signs, giving the sense that a big order is getting shaken on a wide scale. But meteorologists give another explanation, based on data and science models. AccuWeather and other weather agencies say this comes from a shifted polar vortex, combined with an oddly bent jet stream, letting Arctic air pour far south. In this view, the timing is just the result of a big atmospheric system getting out of balance. The two explanations sit side by side. One sees a guiding hand, the other sees complex physical reactions. The Bible calls it signs, science calls it patterns. And between those two names, where do we stand? When millions are hit at once, is this just climate coincidence, or a message repeated loud enough that we can't ignore it? Amos 4-7 gives another picture. "I also withheld rain from you when there were still 3 months until harvest." That's not just about rain or drought. It's the idea that nature can become a reminder tool when people drift too far from staying alert. Put that next to this storm chain from California to Canada, and many feel a thoughtful connection. From a neutral angle, you can't deny that science gives detailed, reasonable explanations for each separate event. But it's also hard to deny that the size, speed, and timing of this storm chain create an uneasy feeling beyond regular weather reports. That overlap is what keeps the debate going strong on TV and social media. So the question isn't really who's right or wrong, but which way of seeing it helps us guide ourselves. When one side talks about the atmosphere and the other about sacred warnings, what convinces you more about what's happening around us? This west to east storm chain drew a cold, straight line across the North American map. It shows Donner Pass wasn't an exception. It might have been the starting point. And if those Bible prophecies about spreading, timing, and human confusion have truth to them, then the next question gets heavier than ever. Is this the whole story? Or is there a deeper warning still waiting to show itself as the darkness keeps moving forward? Biblical prophecies, natural disasters as warnings. After everything that's happened lately, the thing that probably makes us wonder most isn't how strong the storms were, but why they're coming one after another like this. Starting from Donner Pass, that chain of snowstorms spread across the whole country, and what seemed like separate events are now connecting into some kind of pattern. In those quiet moments, amid all the chaos, have you ever stopped to think, is this just the weather? Or is something gently trying to get our attention? Looking at the big picture, these recent events don't stand alone anymore. The blizzards didn't just shut down highways, paralyze cities, or wipe out Christmas. They formed a repeating rhythm, showing up suddenly, hitting hard, then leaving behind emptiness and confusion. History has seen similar times, like the Great Blizzard back in 1888 in America, when thousands died and the young nation really struggled. When you put 2025 next to those old memories, that scary familiar feeling starts to show up. Weather data shows the Midwest got snow up to nearly 2 feet deep along the Great Lakes shores, with wind gusts at 50 miles per hour, over 200,000 homes without power, and traffic shut down across wide areas. New England kept dealing with freezing rain, airports closed, thousands of flights canceled, and the holidays turned into long waits in the cold. Those numbers, read one by one, are just statistics, but put together, they're like drum beats signaling something bigger moving in. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 8, the Bible described those kinds of upheavals with a strange picture. All these are the beginning of birth pains. It's not an immediate end, not instant destruction, but a process. Birth pains don't come to kill. They signal a change, the arrival of a new era after intense contractions. That image makes natural disasters feel less like random tragedies and more like milestones. Snow covering cities in white, winds howling through the night, power going out everywhere. It all acts like a curtain, temporarily blocking the usual light of human life. In those hours of zero visibility, when the sun gets swallowed by the snow, people have to stop and face their own fragility. Matthew 24, verse 29, goes on to paint a bigger scene. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Those words don't sound like a weather report. They're like an ancient whisper, reminding us that the world's familiar order could get turned upside down any time. When snow and freezing rain paralyze a huge area, when gray skies drag on for days, that sun-darkened feeling isn't just symbolic anymore. It becomes something we all experience, where light isn't taken for granted and we're forced to confront our limits. Joel chapter 2, verse 30 adds another layer. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. In a mystical way of reading it, winds whipping up blinding snow, blizzards swirling like giant white columns, the biting cold air. It all creates a sense of a world being stirred from its foundations. Not every image has to be literal, but the unease they bring feels very real. Here, the Bible doesn't come across as quick judgment. It's more like a slow unfolding indictment. Those ancient pages don't shout or threaten. They quietly raise questions about people's relationship with the divine order they're living in. From this view, disasters aren't just punishment. They're reminders that the world doesn't run completely on human terms. Of course, not everyone sees these events through faith. Many scientists and meteorologists say it's all the result of climate shifts, the polar vortex, misplaced jet streams, and global warming. To them, the 2025 snowstorms, tough as they were, fit into patterns explainable by modern science. No need for anything supernatural. That view has solid ground, and it helps us understand nature's workings better. Science gives forecasts, early warnings, and tools to cut down on damage. But the real question isn't whether science or the Bible is right. It's whether those two explanations have to cancel each other out. Science answers what's happening and how it works. The Bible, in many places, asks why should this make people wake up? One side covers mechanics, the other, meaning. Seeing this string of disasters as a mirror, maybe the key isn't picking sides, but asking, what can we learn from it for ourselves? Revelation chapter 8 verse 5 describes a shaking scene. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. That image isn't just about destruction, it's about intervention. The moment human order gets jolted so people look higher than themselves. In today's world, these snowstorms might not be fire from heaven, but they're strong enough to shake our false sense of security. They remind us that no matter how far technology goes, we're still small against forces beyond control. And in that smallness, questions about faith and humility become clearer than ever. It opens up space for reflection, putting natural events side by side with ancient prophecies, letting each person find their own answers. For you, are these storms just weather cycles, or a gentle but persistent nudge that the world is entering a time of change? And if what's written in the Bible isn't meant to scare, but to awaken, what happens next if people keep ignoring those signs? Maybe behind these snowstorms, a deeper warning is still waiting to be heard, and the door to the next part is slowly opening. A deeper meaning, from chaos to awakening. When the last storms finally die down, what's left isn't just melting snow or roads opening up again, but a different kind of quiet in people's hearts. That's the moment when the usual noises of the world slow down, and folks start listening more to voices they've long ignored. In that stillness, the chaos doesn't shout anymore. It turns into a soft whisper, gentle but persistent, coming from deep inside. From California to Canada, during days of blackouts and cut-off roads, social media was full of stories that were hard to explain. Some folks said they saw shapes like angels in the thick snow. Others talked about a strange feeling of being protected when everything around them was falling apart. Even though each story was personal, they all shared one thing: a sense that people were facing something bigger than everyday life. According to reports, more than 51 million people were hit by power outages, traffic shutdowns, and disruptions to daily routines. But alongside the damage, many communities saw things rare in modern life. Neighbors opening their doors to give shelter, strangers sharing food, and volunteer rescue groups popping up in the cold. Minnesota, where snow piled up 8 to 12 inches deep, didn't just record losses, it also saw communities wake up as people realized they needed each other more than ever. Those scenes bring to mind an old story, far back in time, but one that still carries real weight. Before the world was once swept away by water, the Bible says mankind lived in indifference, busy with their own lives, paying no attention to repeated warnings. Noah's time didn't end suddenly with the flood. It was foretold with long patience, with calls that went unheard. Genesis tells how Noah's ark was built over many years, amid skeptical looks and mocking. The rain didn't come right away. The waters didn't rise instantly. Everything happened slowly, as if to give people plenty of time to think it over. That slowness is what was really frightening, because it put the choice in each person's hands instead of forcing them with immediate terror. In 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9, the Bible explains that delay in a way different from the usual picture of judgment. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. These words aren't about punishment. They're about patience, about the time given so people can change on their own. When you put this explanation next to today's string of natural disasters, the picture gets clearer. These snowstorms aren't wiping out humanity or drowning the world overnight. They come wave by wave, region by region, enough to shake things up, but not enough to end it all. Just like in Noah's day, the world now is living in a kind of before the rain period, where everything keeps going, but nothing's quite the same as before. Romans chapter 8, verse 22, expands on that feeling with a very human image. We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. Nature, in this view, isn't just the background. It's something groaning, reacting to deep imbalance. The howling wind, falling snow, spreading ice, all like sighs from creation, not meant to destroy, but to wake us up. Those visions people shared during the snowstorms, whatever you make of them, reflect an inner need, the need to find meaning in the middle of chaos. Some psychologists say they're just hallucinations from prolonged stress and cold, a natural brain response in harsh conditions. That makes scientific sense, and it explains things on a personal level. But what many can't brush off is how widespread and simultaneous that awakening feeling was. Not just one place, not just one group, but across all the affected areas. Similar stories showed up, like pieces of a mirror reflecting the same question. What really matters when the familiar things are stripped away? The comparison to Noah's time isn't about water or snow. It's about how people respond. When the ark was being built, no one was forced to board. The doors stayed open for a long while. The story doesn't end with lack of information, but with choice. And it's that choice that decided fates, not the flood itself. Psalm 46, verse 10, wraps up these thoughts with a quiet invitation. Be still and know that I am God, not fleeing, not panicking, not arguing right and wrong, just stopping. In a world used to speed, stillness becomes the most radical act because it opens space to hear something deeper than stats and headlines. This isn't meant to claim humanity is facing a new flood or that every disaster is direct judgment. It just recalls a familiar Bible pattern. Before every big turning point, there's always a warning phase, a time to reflect and turn back. In Noah's day, there was the ark. In our time, maybe the ark isn't made of wood, but built from awareness, humility, and inner repentance. Hope, then, doesn't lie in disasters stopping right away, but in people's ability to change how they live before it's too late. If these storms are just whispers, then the scary part isn't the wind, it's the silence of those who refuse to listen. Maybe this is the story's final stop, where there's no more howling wind or falling snow, just the heavy silence of choice. Like the ark's door in Noah's time, open in patience, the world today seems to stand at a similar moment. Not closed yet, but not waiting forever. If what's happened is just the first wake-up call, then the question isn't what's coming next. It's who we'll become when the time of grace ends. Because before the real rain pours down, people are always given one last chance to awaken. When we look back at everything that's happened, from Donner Pass buried under that Christmas blizzard, to the chain of chaos spreading across North America, we no longer see these as separate events. They fit together like pieces of a puzzle, forming a bigger picture where nature shakes things up and forces us to stop and face how fragile we really are. This isn't just a story about the weather, it's a story about our times. In that picture, the Bible doesn't feel like some old book from long ago. It feels like a mirror showing us what's happening right now. Matthew 24 talks about birth pains, not to scare us, but to remind us that big changes always come with warning signs beforehand. These storms, power outages, disruptions, and panic today echo those old warnings, like a steady drumbeat urging people to wake up. When we put these events alongside the Bible's bigger story, from the days of Noah to the prophecies about the last days, we see one thing that never changes. God always warns before he acts. Genesis tells about the ark being built while everyone else ignored it, and 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 says the Lord is patient, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. So this time we're in isn't punishment, it's grace. That's why the final message isn't about panic. It's about waking up. Waking up to see that these signs around us aren't random. Waking up to look at how we're living, how we're loving, and how we're treating each other. This is the time to pray more, to repent more honestly, and to let faith guide our everyday choices. When each of us changes from the inside, that little light can spread to those around us. If what you've just heard has touched your heart or made you feel heavy inside, let that feeling turn into a prayer. You can leave one down below, a prayer, a thought, or just a quiet word from your heart. Those words aren't just comments. They're signs of awakening, where we lift each other up and help each other stay on the right path. If you feel this message needs to reach more people, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of God's warnings in the videos to come. Every share might be the way you reach a soul that needs waking up at just the right moment. Finally, thank you for taking the time to listen all the way to the end. May God keep you and your family safe, give you peace in these unsettled days, and light the path ahead so we don't walk blindly. May His grace, protection, and love be with you always. Amen.
So we all just got woken up to some disturbing sound all through the whole.
If the end of days isn't coming way off in some distant future, but is knocking on our door right this minute, would you even notice? The world is shaking. The sky's gone dark. The ground's trembling. Strange signs from up above and down below are all roaring out at once, like anger that's been held back far too long. The Bible warned us. The sun will be darkened. The moon will give no light. The powers in the heavens will be shaken. And now it feels like time is speeding up. Strange lights ripping across the sky, tornadoes howling like trumpets, rain pouring down like a tsunami, floods swallowing up bridges and roads, the earth rumbling and boiling, whirlpools opening up deep in the waters, weird creatures coming to the surface, white objects just hanging in the woods. 10 strange events, 10 chilling pieces of the puzzle. You think it's all just coincidence? Those videos going viral, the quick news clips, the rushed explanations. This isn't some conspiracy. It's a series of warnings that God is trying to get through to us. So don't click away. Stick with me as we dive deeper and look for the real answers hidden in these 10 strange events below. We'll get started right away with 1. The flickering lights look eerie behind the dark forest. The video starts with a feeling of unease spreading. A woman stands close to her porch, her voice shaking, with a thick, endless dark forest behind her. No city lights, no traffic sounds, no signs of modern life, just heavy silence. Like nature is holding its breath for something about to happen. Then the sky behind the forest suddenly lights up. Streams of orange, white, yellow, and blue lights keep flashing, not like lightning rhythms, not like fireworks, but shooting across, cutting through the darkness like sharp slashes. The sound that comes with it isn't short blasts, but a deep humming whine that lasts, hitting you right in the chest. The panic shows as the person filming quickly backs inside the house, while the sky keeps flashing non-stop. What makes this phenomenon hard to understand is the setting. A rural area near Pensacola, Florida, right next to thick forest, miles away from homes and any industrial sites. No big power station, no nearby factories, no signs of infrastructure that could easily explain such an intense event. Similar videos pop up here and there online, capturing those strange sounds from the sky. But official explanations always trail off halfway, leaving a chilling gap. Luke 21:25 once recorded a warning. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity. This Bible verse doesn't say what those lights are, but it points to a familiar pattern. When strange signs appear in the sky, people's sense of order starts to shake. The anguish and confusion don't come after a disaster. They show up right when no one knows what's going on. Of course, debates flare up fast. Some say it's just a technical thing, like a power plant releasing pressure, where steam glows and makes loud noise. But that argument runs into tough questions. If it's industrial, why is the area just all thick forest? Why no smoke? No chemical smell? No physical traces left after? When you watch that video again, what do you think is the right answer for this strange phenomenon? Luke 21:26 goes on, "People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world." The fear doesn't just come from the odd lights, but from the sense that something is slipping beyond our usual control and understanding. The Bible here isn't giving a final answer. It's like a quiet hint, putting us face to face with questions about what we're seeing. If the flickering lights behind the forest are just a one-off incident, it'll all fade into forgetting. But if it's only the first sign, a flash warning of a bigger storm ahead, then when the sky starts sounding like trumpet blasts, will humanity still have the calm to wonder? Or just listen in silence? 2. A strange big tornado that looked like a giant trumpet. It wasn't just a regular storm, but a shape that gave folks the chills. A huge column of wind twisting around, narrowing in the middle, flaring out at the top like a trumpet hanging in the sky. That sight made us all stop and stare, because the usual fear of bad weather suddenly turned into something deeper and harder to describe, like the sky was about to make a sound. This happened in Parkersburg, Iowa, a place that's seen some of the worst EF5 tornadoes in history. But this time, what shocked the community wasn't just the destruction, but the noise. The swirling column, hundreds of feet wide, came roaring down, ripping up houses, cars, trees, turning the air into a thick mix of dirt and water. The roar wasn't the sharp howl of strong wind, but deep, long, echoing like a sad trumpet blast, leaving many people standing still, feeling like they were hearing something beyond the ordinary. Weather experts soon explained it. Scientifically, tornadoes can sometimes take a trumpet or mushroom shape because of changes in pressure and unstable spinning airflows. In theory, that shape isn't all that rare. But what kept people uneasy was the sound. Some videos showed a rhythmic, deep, steady hum, not like the usual tearing wind. Science could explain the look, but it struggled with the noise, and that gap started to grow. Revelation 8-6 says, "The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets got ready to blow them." This Bible verse isn't describing a tornado, but it brings up a familiar symbol. The trumpet as a signal to start something, a sound warning of big, unstoppable change. And when a trumpet shape shows up right in the sky, it's hard not to make the connection. Revelation 8-7 goes on, "The first angel blew his trumpet, and hail and fire mixed with blood were thrown down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up." This isn't some vague hint anymore, but a clear warning about a chain of events that follow one after another. In that story, a trumpet-shaped column doesn't stand alone. It's like the first echo of a dark melody starting to play. You could call this a rare weather event. You could see it as an extreme twist of nature. But when the shape, the sound, and the timing all come together, that old sense of safety starts to crack. We can keep believing everything's still under control, or admit there are signs going beyond easy explanations. If that trumpet blast has already sounded over the Iowa sky, like an opening signal, then what's coming next? While the air still echoes with that noise, a downpour like a flood might just be the next step in a series of warnings getting stronger. 3. Tsunami cloud dumped in seconds. In Perth, Australia, the sky over Perth changed color in just a few minutes. A heavy gray cloud hung unusually low, with no warning, thunder, or long buildup like a regular storm, then suddenly poured down a huge amount of rain. Streets that were dry turned into rushing rivers, catching many folks off guard before they even knew what hit them. When rain can come crashing down in seconds, you naturally wonder, is this just extreme weather or something more unusual? The event was clearly recorded around Perth Airport in Western Australia. Reports from MSN and ABC News said record rainfall fell in a very short time, along with strong wind gusts that ripped off roofs and brought traffic to a standstill. Weather data showed it was one of the most intense downpours ever measured in the area, with water equal to hours of normal rain coming down in minutes. Video clips showed rain falling so thick it looked like a wall of water, often called a rain bomb. The cloud dropped so low it seemed to touch the ground, blocking all visibility. Water rose a few feet in no time, flooding curbs, sweeping away trash, mud, and vehicles.